Can you hear me? Okay, that's weird. And there's so many points of oh, I don't know where I was gonna say with all that. That was so brilliantly put in my head. But see, that's the thing. It's has nothing and never will be, other than how I want to make my mark on the world. How I want to go ahead and show up. How I don't care to care sometimes. I mean, isn't that everybody? It is. And it can always be if we want it to be? Finding solace when I can and finding a peace of mind, which is all the same thing, right? And it's almost in that same sense of really being understood as gratitude. Gratitude can be everything and mean nothing all at the same time if we choose to have other plans. It's going to be a great day unless we have other plans. And then if we have other plans, we are only as sick as our secrets. And then it's like, what is going on? I'm in a paralysis because I'm analysis. Analysis is paralysis. And then somehow I'm attempting to fake it till I make it. But then it's not even faking it until I make it. And in that same sense, it's like, isn't that just another way of saying an AA zealot or a zealot upon itself, where I'm attempting to rest on my laurels and then I'm attempting to one up myself in the future from the past. And then somehow I'm shutting the door on the past, which then creates no future at all, because I'm going ahead and making it to where my future is nothing because I want it to be my past. And then somehow the past is then the future. And then somehow the future is in the past. And I'm looking at it from the rear view mirror. And then I start going that way because I turned around, because I did a 360 after I did the 180. Then I turned back around and I did a 180 again, to now I'm facing where I'm going ahead and burning down my life again. That would be my rock bottom, would not? Would that not be then a spiritual awakening that I get to go ahead and I can make it meaningless? Or I can make it matter? What would then be the same thing? Right? It like goes back on what I was saying earlier on how I did not get it the first time. And we can say, go ahead and say the 99th monkey effect, to where it's karma. And the only way we can learn something is to change. It might take us forever to change. But if nothing changes, nothing changes. If I don't reach out and I keep isolating and I don't have a peace of mind because I look good, right? I have the level of respect for myself because I put the work in, right? I have a clear mind, but then I'm overcomplicating it. And now that's my new addiction, simply and to say. And that's what is amazing about this evolution of recovery, we can simply say, of not shutting the door in the past nor regretting to, because if we shut the door in the past, we don't learn anything, and history repeats itself. You know, like, ooh. And so, simply to say, I was talking to somebody, and in my thoughts, as I experience things, you know, I love recovery in such a way, and I see the development and the evolution upon itself, to where somehow we attempt to stay so pure in the sense of the message so it doesn't get telephoned, right? And in that sense, sometimes we don't find ourselves because we're still losing ourselves. We're at a sense of itself where it's as simple as you don't go to the barbershop, or you're going to get a haircut. And it's like, okay, well, if I'm in my active participant in my recovery and I have a great foundation, I'm in the opposite of alcoholism, which is, alcoholism, the hopeless state of body and mind, to where I have joy. And I guess the opposite of alcoholism would be serenity, peace, a new freedom, because this phase of my development, I'm amazed when it's halfway there. Somehow we're always in the middle, right? Somehow we're always in the now. And to further explain how we're always in the middle, don't we, if we're in the now, is there not the possibility of the probability of somehow being in the future and the past all at the same time? Would that not then be the now? Would that not be the God moment, the moment of serenity, the moment of clarity and a spiritual awakening, all of itself? Is that not just another way of saying the now? In recovery jargon, the strength, which is really just a moment of clarity, a peace upon itself, which is described as a spiritual awakening, which is in and of itself, in the sense of a past explanation, the knowledge we get to keep now, right? Because we put the work in to manifest this life. And so it's so easy to block the door because we don't open it. We block ourselves from just not being blinded anymore by our own self-evidence of the ego. Maybe. And it's not even the ego's fault. It's our fault for condemning these things. That's really what it comes to in all points of itself, where I'm just showing up. I'm not looking at the time, or there's points where I got food and I want to eat, but then there's points to where I'm trying to make up for what is life, to where I feel, in a sense, or the ego feels, that I have not put enough time, or I don't have enough time, even though I'm life, right? And I can make it miserable, and then I can have company. Because it's not that misery loves company. I mean, that is such a a proverb, which in a sense of itself, a proverb is just a cheesy statement, which in of itself, that was a past quote proverb that's been illustrated as in some kind of unreachable pedestal of idolized falsities, right? Because doesn't the Bible say don't have any false idols other than me, right? And then yet, if you don't expand upon that, you take the science, the cut, right? In etymology, science is a cut, and engineering is a science, and engineering in of itself simply means to hack. And then so we get the fact that we understand things, but then we forget the fact of that we forgot how to learn something because we learned it. And then somehow we're playing the telephone game with history upon itself, and then we forget that being a good student is to be a teacher, but being an amazing teacher is to always remain a student. And then, unless we all develop, right, in the sense of evolutionized aspects of the body, where we all develop the senses of information, of what is to go ahead and just have a textile aspect of, oh, I know that whole book because I touched it, right? But then is that not taking away or refocusing on the aspect of just a human experience upon itself? Right? It maybe not, I don't know. This is so profound. I feel so enlightened and so amazing that I'm just wanting to keep on going. But in the same sense, I get that this human experience is not about staying in one moment. For life is a fractal, and there's only the now moment. There's just many experiences that are now moments. Simply to say, we can go ahead and say in the archetype of time traveling, in how I used to quote it, it was like the I can't say it. Oh my goodness. Fine. Okay, fine. There's points to simply saying that life by itself is what it is. And we can make it whatever we want it to be. Purely understood as free will, purely experienced in legalities of freedom, in the sense of what it is of life. Of how do you want to have life? How do you want to be? What's your why? And yet, maybe it really comes down to keeping it simple, which is a peace of mind. Peace. Because we all have something to offer. And we're always losing ourselves in a sense of we have these defenses that we're trying to not lose ourselves so much to where somehow we don't relate to life anymore. In that sense, life is, wow, miserable. Would it then it not be? As it is and as it can be, what shall it be today? You know? And yet, simply to say, whoo, hey. As it simply comes to this point, to where I showed up in my life today, and somehow I feel at peace. I feel at peace. I guess that could be called nirvana in the same sense of a spiritual awakening would maybe be a simplest way of calling nirvana. Huh? Anywho's, I see life in its beauty, and I can go ahead and make it as miserable or as seemingly perfect. Because it's only that of my perfection. This soul, the God of my understanding, can be serene and bring me at peace. Because I admitted that somehow this anger, resentment led into an obsession to worry. And then I find ignorance to be blissful. Because, there's points to where ignorance, by simple expanding on the evolution of etymology, is to ignore. And it's not that I'm ignoring anything, it's that somehow I'm giving time. And in that sense, I'm able to just breathe, letting go and letting God. And God to me is, what is not God? God's everything. And then God is nothing at the same time. Would it not be? If unstoppable is just another way of saying stoppable, it would be. And it's not like it's a paradox as to what is the simplicities of just finishing the thought to knowing peace, because I let go and let God. I gave time. I worked. Duh. To think. To see a phase of my development. And to know a new freedom. Because I lost interest in selfish things to gain interest in my fellows. To love thy neighbor as thyself. Leaving it better than I found it. Because that is peace, would it not be? To being the best teacher, because I am just a humble student. A servant that does not govern, but leads. As it comes to this point, though, that I see life just as beautiful as I am, because I am life, and I am at peace at this moment, serene upon itself. And so, keep showing up to your life, because sometimes we make permanent decisions off of temporary moments, and that temporary moment can become a regret. And that regret is resentment. Maybe. And that regret is a lapse. And yet, because we keep qualifying ourselves by showing up in our life, all we can do is try. And trying is just as simple as being able to keep going, making progress along spiritual lines. Because isn't that all we have out of our maladies? The stinking thinking that led us to this moment where we can't comprehend it. It's incomprehensible. And yet, simply to say, to know peace, you must give peace. And sometimes the things that we hold, we just simply need to put them down and give them back. Because they were never ours. They were always that thing, whatever it may be, simply to say, because all things are amazing. And maybe that amazement is why we picked it up. And then simply to say, we lost our way. Anywho, thank you, God of my understanding, for being in my life. And thank you for being part of my recovery. Because, oh my goodness, I don't think I would have it any other way. And simply to say, you always deserve to take up space. Your shoes do fit just right. Maybe it's time to walk out that echo chamber. Don't shut the door on the past, though. And stop digging, because it's just what it can be. And yet, simply to say, have an amazing one. This has been another episode of Pancake Marathon. I love you. And you are worth it. If you work it. And even if you don't, and you're doing more steps or research, hey, that's okay. Just stop digging, and all will be okay. Put down that rock, because we float. We do. And we're supposed to mentally smile, because it takes less energy to smile. Even though a frown's an upside down smile. But work smarter, not harder. I love you.